Welcome everyone. So this is a presentation that I'm doing. It's going to build up a bit more in terms of some of the contents that I was discussing in the previous presentation, but going in a bit deeper. So yeah, let's get to it. So this is some of the contents that we're going to be discussing here. So like I said, there's going to be a bit of crossover from the previous presentation, but going a bit further, mainly discussing these 4 pillars here. So firstly, helping to address in case anyone here is going through early phase or potentially low affiliate traction, and automating outreach, going into a bit more detail with regards to that. Secondly, scaling higher ticket and restricted subscription products. I had a few questions at the end of the last presentation. I want to dedicate a bit more attention to that as well. I want to discuss it more in terms of mastering performance, in terms of the creative aspect, diving a bit into identity osmosis, more of that later, and going into more depth with regards to the GMV Max algorithm. So talking about TikTok ads, okay? And so like I say, in our first presentation, we covered a bit more of a foundational blueprint about TikTok Shop. Here about talking about setting up the store, the psychology, live sales, whatnot. I would say previous presentation was more of a 0 to 10K kind of roadmap. Here, like I said, I'm going to aim to go a bit deeper, potentially certain things that are going to be for a bit more, a bit after the 10K steps as well. Very briefly, okay, for anyone who's new here, I know that we've got some recurring faces here, but so like I said, I'm going to go into granular detail here. But in terms of who I am, so I've been operating both as a content creator and as a manager previously for a bunch of large name companies, which you may or may not have heard of across the pond. So basically UK and US as well. And my goal overall has been just to aim to bridge the gap between, I suppose, the content aspect, going viral, producing high converting content, and just making sure everything's running smoothly on the back end with building up an affiliate army, a lot of the creative strategy behind it, basically trying to make things operational and work successfully on the back end as well. So okay, so we're entering quite an interesting era right now with regards to TikTok. I don't know how many of you guys have been here since a few years back. I remember back in 2024, 25, that brands were basically going viral just purely with just organic reach. Just affiliates would be able to just post a video, and if it had just just a few viral elements in it, that you could the outreach was just crazy. You could obtain 15 million people per video at a very much easier than what I would argue is today. But in 2026, TikTok seemed to have shifted a bit more from a bit more of a viral first platform to more of how do I say, a bit more sales oriented. So we're operating much more in an era where a kind of a winner takes all type of economy, where the best ads and the absolute best creators are at the top 10%, 5% are basically making all of the money, mainly because of these algorithm changes, certain things that have factored into it. For instance, the GMV Max algorithm. There's been some significant changes in the last year or so, I would say, where essentially to get essentially the same 10 million views today, brands essentially, a lot of them have to pay a lot more when it comes to TikTok in terms of ads, for instance, which means basically your conversion metrics have to be more flawless, I would say. So let me break this down quickly in terms of how to navigate this era a bit better in terms of a perspective more as from brand owners, okay? So the first pillar I want to discuss is with regards to low attraction when just starting out, more of the affiliate sniping kind of thing. So if you're sitting at somewhat like 0 sales or low sales, this is essentially what I want to be focusing on a bit here. Or if you're finding it basically impossible to just find good influencers that might actually just respond to you. I think bottom line, I think in most cases here, your affiliate outreach strategy is flawed, potentially broken. So there aren't any shortcuts when it comes to this. You can't, and I speak to quite a lot of brand owners, especially when starting out, when they had this initial concept where they've got a product, maybe it's going well on Amazon, maybe it's going well on Meta, whatever. They just plug it into TikTok, maybe get a bot or something. They understand a few things here and there with regards to TikTok. They sign up for one of these automated bots like Groover, Reacher, Yuka, let it do its thing to reach out to affiliates to sell the product, and they think that it's going to turn up and bring in a lot of money that way. Well, as we've a lot of us have probably realized, it's a bit more complicated than that. You can't just expect that everyone's doing that in terms of brand owners. So obviously we need to be putting a bit more thought into it. So basically, to build an army of 1,000 affiliates, I think bottom line, I think we need to be doing a hybrid approach here, automating as well. So like using these useful tools, but pairing it with a very highly specific manual sniper outreach. We want to be making sure that we're getting the absolute best, the top quality affiliates. And that's why we need to be putting some thought into this. So with regards to the automated side, so what I mean here is using the bots to just send out outreach messages on a daily, weekly basis. So just a massive hurdle. So a massive hurdle new brand owners hit in this TikTok app is just this message ceiling. I discussed this in a bit more depth in the previous presentation, where essentially we have GMV tiers where we're limited in terms of the amount of affiliates we're able to reach out to on a weekly basis, excuse me. And where essentially if you've got very few sales, you're very highly restricted. So obviously we need to be putting in, especially at the beginning, a lot more effort into who we're actually targeting, who we're actually trying to bring on to sell our products, the brand products that we're looking to essentially expand on. To bypass the ceiling, we discussed several methods, like using certain outreach tools, using email bots as well within these tools, like from Groover, for instance, allows you to scrape certain emails of creators so that you're not limited with the actual in the TikTok messaging app. You can actually go further than that. And to set up the bots, your TikTok shop product ID and just deploying a punchy, just highly incentive script. We've discussed a lot of that. So what I wanted to do here quickly, I wanted to do a very quick exercise to show you. Basically, we get a lot of us will get a lot of outreach messages that way, and a lot of people looking for free samples, for instance, to actually sell our product. What I wanted to do here is go through a quick exercise to show you specifically how I would vet some of these creators, because we don't want to be sending out free samples, just working with just anyone really. We want to be working with the better people who can actually blow us up, because obviously it's just it can be a bit of a waste of money as well, especially if we're working with higher ticket products. So I've put together a few videos here. I wanted to see if I've got some examples of, for instance, certain creators here. This exercise is basically, I'm going to assume here, these three creators have reached out to work with us. They want a free sample. Let's say that we're working with for the purposes of this exercise, a coffee brand, okay? Let's say it's a high caffeine coffee brand on Amazon or Meta. They're targeting mainly the gym community because it's high caffeine. They want, masculine presence in general. Let's use that as an example. And we've sent out a bunch of outreach messages, and we've got 3 messages from these creators here. And they want to work with us, they want a free sample, etc. I want to get your thoughts, and then I'll give mine as well, into if we're looking at their profile specifically, if you guys think that these are good creators that we could work with this specific brand. I just want to get your thoughts, okay? So like I say, it's these 3 brands. I'll go through them individually. This is the first one right here. Just want to get your thoughts, and then obviously I'm going to go through, I suppose, my process into giving you ideas into if I would vet this creator, if I think he or she is a good one for our specific brand. So feel free to chime in whenever. Looks to me that it's generally, yeah. I'll try to reserve some things in a sec. Feel free to let me know your thoughts right now, whoever's available. So
So they have
looking at
they have
yeah, sorry.
supplements. So they have fragrances, supplements, healthy active lifestyle. So for a caffeinated beverage, this could work.
You think that this could work? Okay. Okay, but mainly because of I'm hearing because of the similar type of products. Is that the main reasoning?
Yeah, so they got some supplements in there. Again, it's pretty fragrance heavy, so they're pushing that. They got black seed oil. You know, these are all just like kind of types of stimulants for CPG. And if the person, you know, is living a healthy, active lifestyle, then I would accept them as a creator. You said this is for your
Okay.
coffee, the coffee brand, right?
Yes. Specifically
Okay.
for this example, we're doing a coffee brand, a high caffeine coffee brand. Just imagine the type of thing that really pumps you up and a ideal target market, like I say, the gym bro community.
Yeah, I mean it's average views look high. I don't know if that's inflated by bots or I don't know the comments and everything that's on the videos, but yeah, I would probably accept this creator for a coffee brand. But happy to hear your
Fair
thoughts.
enough. Yeah. Anyone else got any thoughts before I chime in here?
Well, I think it's good that they actually create the content, because some of the affiliates I've tried to hire through different services or whatever, they take your free sample and they don't even create the videos. So the fact that this creator is putting out a lot of content, a lot of videos, I think is a good sign that they're reliable.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I'm quite interested in getting you guys' thoughts. So one thing I probably should have clarified, which should have helped to clarify the previous comment was, so I'm assuming with all these creators, by the way, that they all meet the criteria in terms of my filtering criteria that, for instance, I'm putting out on Groover, on Reacher for affiliate outreach messages. So essentially, all of them are getting at least 2K GMV. They've got they're likely to actually make videos for our product here. And obviously this isn't a broken account, so they're getting around 300 views at least in general. So it seems to be an account that is working. But anyways, let me give you my thoughts on this. Okay, so like I say, this is a high caffeine brand that I'm talking about, a coffee brand specifically. I personally, the way I would look at this, okay, so they've given me this account, and then I want to see, am I going to give them out a free sample? Do I want to work with them? The way I'm looking at it is, so their top performing video here is this it's like a 40K view video. This was around 2 months ago or so, 3 months ago. It's June now. This is probably, I'm assuming this is their better performing videos after browsing through their account. Also because they've pinned it as well. So generally creators pin their better performing videos. In general, I'm seeing a lot of different products here. Overall, the way I'm looking at this is that they're likely to, if I were to give them a sort of free sample, for instance, or want to work with them, they'll probably make 1 or 2 videos. I'm not seeing many videos of the same product. I don't know if you guys are, but mainly they seem to me to be mainly different products consistently. They're getting some views here and there, like this one, for instance. I might get my return on investment, obviously, but that seems to be a bit more of an exception. I've got also a bit of a personal bias personally against this type of content. Will put that aside, obviously, but I think this is really low effort content personally, like just grabbing the product and then just yapping to the camera. I haven't seen many great results from that. I know there are caveats. I have seen some people go very viral with this bottom of funnel kind of content, but to me it seems quite low effort in general. That doesn't mean to say if I saw this page and it's just getting hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of views consistently, then yeah, it doesn't matter my personal opinion on the account. Bottom line, it gets a lot of views, but I'm not quite seeing that here. I think realistically, if I were to send out a free sample, they're probably not going to go viral. I think, like I say, that was the best performing video by the looks of it, which out of all the hundreds of videos they've probably made, that was around 2 months ago. I'm probably going to get like a 300, 500 view video. And even if some of these bottom of funnel view videos get like 5K or 6K views, generally they don't do that well from personal experience. So I'm not sure. I would be probably say no to this creator based on all of that information. Yeah, I think that would probably be a no from me. But I also do like the comment that you made, the first person, excuse me, I can't see your name here, but that essentially they're making some products within the niche. I do think they have that going for them. And I do think there's a lot of crossover with, for instance, some of the supplements, some of the perfumes, whatever. There can be certain crossover in terms of the content. So that's not really too much of an issue from my perspective. But yeah, I think my main decision here would be based on performance data, I think. Let's move on to this creator here. What do you guys think with this? Is this guy a yes or a no? Remember, we're speaking about a highly caffeinated product here. Very masculine kind of ideal target market. Doesn't mean to say that we completely only want to work with those kind of people, but let's say that's the ideal target market that's been working outside of TikTok up to now. What do you guys think?
He's much better.
Why?
Yeah, he looks like a good fit and he has higher views with his face in the video.
Yeah.
He looks like he gets more in detail about the product. He puts the product right in front of the camera. He holds it there. Logos are visible. So yeah, I mean, his analytics are way higher. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think even if his analytics were worse, obviously depends how much worse. I think this is an example of a very good creator, I would say. Looking at some of these videos, this was around, what was it, 6-7 months ago or so, one of his better performing videos. This one around 9 months ago. Having said that, in terms of performance data alone, he's got most of his videos are getting several thousand views, which that's a really good indication. A lot of us who've actually made content, if it doesn't resonate, generally it's going to be stuck on 300, 400 views. So generally he's making content that is getting picked up by the algorithm, that seems to be hitting somewhere. Even if it doesn't go viral, it looks like he's doing something right here. I know this guy is essentially the top creators. They're able to look at TikTok as a science. From my observations in general, it's not quite guesswork to go viral, to actually get high views. This guy, from what I can see, he's essentially taking advantage of. This is where you get a certain sixth sense after making content for a while. You understand that this guy, for instance, he's following certain trends and taking advantage of it to apply to the products that he's promoting. Like this, for instance, like I've seen personally this trend where they're using certain objects, for instance. So I can tell specifically that he's using certain props that are working cross niche, for instance. But even if you don't know that, you can just look at his performance data, obviously. The other really good thing that I like about this, which obviously helps us out as brand owners, is that he seems to be making content, multiple videos for the products that he's working with. Like, for instance, this dental product, I think I'm seeing quite a lot of dental videos. For instance, that's 3 there. I think that's another one potentially. That's a 5th. So he's making a lot of video, and not just one. Like, for instance, I'm seeing this Goldie supplement in multiple cases. So if I were to work with this guy, I think there's a very good chance that he would make, firstly, a content that might actually resonate. Secondly, he's likely to actually make multiple videos for the product that I'm looking to have promoted. And thirdly, he seems to understand TikTok from a scientific perspective. So I would say this is a very good example of, if you ever get a creator like this, I think certainly do your best to accommodate him, make him feel happy with the product. Obviously depends what stage we're at, if we're able to give out retainers or not. If not, do what you can to actually make him feel as comfortable as possible, as happy as possible to work with your product. I would say that was a yes then. This is an interesting one here. I wanted to throw out yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, I'm not sure how to raise my hand on this thing.
No.
Quick
No.
question.
I've got this on full screen right now, so I'm not able to see others properly. But just
Oh, okay.
anyone, if you've got questions, feel free to chime in, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you can tell that he's getting views. How can you tell they're
Yeah,
converting to sales?
great question. If you look at the TikTok alone here, you're not going to find that information. What you will get, if this guy reaches out to you, he will show up on for instance, someone if he's requested, for instance, a free sample on the TikTok platform on Seller Central, you'll be able to see how much GMV he's been doing the last 30 days. If you don't have, if he hasn't requested a free sample, for instance, and you still want to find out how much sales he's achieved recently, you're able to use tools like Kalo Data, FastMos, for instance. There, let's see if I can go very quickly here. This is Kalo Data, for instance. Get an account. You can do a quick trial account. You can find the creators here. So go under creator. I know that guy from my observations was a UK creator. So go to the UK market, type in the username, and there you should be able to see his data. Okay.
Okay, great.
Hopefully that
Thank
answers the
you.
question.
Yes, thank you.
No worries. FastMos is another good one as well. I personally use Kalo Data mostly, but yeah, FastMos is another good one as well. Depends on your budget, I think, mainly. I think roughly they're roughly similarly priced. Anyways, I wanted to throw out this bottleneck, this curveball here. I want to get your thoughts on this. Is this a good creator? Let's say they reach out for a free sample. Again, this is for, let's say, a high caffeine product that we're working with. Should we work with this person? Would you give out a free sample? Yeah, keen to get you guys' thoughts. Let's assume, by the way, again, assuming they've hit the criteria, let's say they've got at least 2K GMV.
Yeah, I would, based on their curation of products. I mean, they got Red Bull, they got Bloom. I mean, they're working with big brands, so I don't know if they're getting gifted this or they're just posting about it. But also, it looks like very generic content. So based on their thumbnails, actually, I probably wouldn't work with them. I don't support Colgate, Snickers, and all that trash.
Okay,
Personally.
Fair enough. If you were
Jason,
putting
can I
your
ask a question?
yes, please do.
So Jason, I have a bed and bath brand. We use 100% US based cotton, and it's organic, and made for American people. So I wanted to know, my stuff is premium. Like my bed sheets are $250. Like you don't find the same bed sheets at a Walmart or a Target, like a $30-$60 one. But again, they last you longer and so on and so forth. I don't want to make it a sales pitch here, but I want to know, how do we find creators, not just on TikTok, but also on Meta or any other platforms, who are working for as a commission-based creator? Not a lot of creators I've sent my product to, they just took the product and never created content.
Okay.
And my
good
stuff is
question.
expensive.
Got it. That's a good question. So in this presentation, I will be covering more higher ticket products shortly. So I will go into that strategy a bit later. With very briefly answering your question. Obviously, I want to, by the way, generally speaking, in terms of questions, I'm going to leave most of it at the end for the Q&A. For questions in general, if we can. Generally speaking, if we can keep it relevant to the subject here, but just to briefly answer your question. So I went into more detail, which I think will be useful for you with a previous presentation. I can send you the link afterwards in terms of affiliate outreach, going into specifics with regards to that. With regards to high ticket products, you want to, in general, obviously you need to be vetting even harder. For this high caffeine example we're talking about, if we lose out a few packets, if we're sending out, it's not too big of a deal, because it's like, what, it costs like $10, $15, whatever. It's not a big deal. With high ticket products, obviously we need to be vetting a lot harder. I would recommend generally like if you're giving out free samples, you need to be I would be looking to work with more creators like this. For instance, the closer you are to this, you need to be at with higher ticket products. To get affiliates, I would recommend going onto something like Halo Data, Fastmoss. Go to similar competitors, people in the niche for your premium product that you're talking about. Get the list of the creators there and send out personalized messages to them to try to get them on board. Give them a healthy commission rate as well, as high as you can do, especially if you're starting out. And also implement a bot like a Groover bot, a Reacher bot, one of those tools so that you're able to send out affiliate messages on a daily basis. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question very briefly. With regards to the marketing aspect of it, I will go into depth of that in a bit, okay? So to go back to this, obviously to move this along a bit further, I think we had a comment, it was a bit of a yes, no. I kind of agree with you, by the way. So I'm on the fence with this creator. I personally don't like this kind of AI content. A lot of people generally don't like this content as well because it's like it feels slightly scammy. But putting personal differences aside, I have seen some AI content work well. Generally speaking, they get lower commission rates, generally speaking. But I would need to actually look at my answer to this is I would actually need to look at how much specifically a GMV they're actually making. If it's just on the 2K, roughly at just 2K, I would probably say no, simply because I'm not seeing a lot of encouragement, again, based on performance data. One of the things I do like is that they're making, in general, multiple videos for the same product. I think I'm seeing in certain occasions. Also, I've been seeing some, I think as it was correctly pointed out, I saw some Red Bull and some other products that are similar to the niche. So they might actually have some insights here. But in general, the performance data, I don't think it's significantly better than what the first creator was going for. Plus, it's AI in general, so probably a no. But there might be some potential based on some of the videos that I'm seeing here. They're doing some higher quality videos, not as in they're actually putting a bit of effort into it in terms of the copywriting, in terms of like the hooks and stuff like that. They seem to be making a bit more effort. I think, by the way, these videos here, that does look very low, but these were probably published yesterday or so you need to give it a bit more time. But anyways, I think that probably answers that. So like I say, I just wanted to go through this exercise quickly just to give you a bit of insights in terms of how I would start vetting creators. With higher ticket samples, obviously you need to be vetting even harder. Like, for instance, this type of creator here, I would probably not recommend, because obviously I think I heard like $250 premium bed sheets, for instance. That's like a lot of money for one person, where they might just get the bed sheets and run. So that's not so we need to be vetting even harder, I would say. But anyways, guys, I hope that gives you a better insight in terms of better vetting creators. Yeah, feel free to pipe in if you got any questions with regards to that. Otherwise, I'll carry on. I'll keep this moving, okay? And when you actually, so obviously on Seller Central on TikTok, we're therefore just, we get the option to reject or to actually move forward with the creator. So obviously we would reject them. The way I would go about doing this is reject, but you get an option in terms of which to give the reason to be able to, of why you're rejecting. I would usually do other, and then I would, it depends how you want to go about this, obviously, but I personally would rather try to keep a good relationship with those people, because I have seen some people, for instance, a few months later, they seem to understand TikTok better, and therefore they might be better suited to actually work with the product now that they understand it better. So I would advise against burning, I suppose, bridges with some of these people because they're not performing that well. The way I typically go about this is give them a reason, like something like an out of stock reason that you're just not able to give it out right now because it's out of stock. But at the same time, you're able to give them a better affiliate commission rate, so to make them feel valued. Like I say, this completely depends how you want to go about it, morally, ethically, however you choose. If you want to be completely honest, that's fine. That's your choice. Just giving it options in terms of how you could go about this, and because at the same time you can still make them feel valued, and if you're able to give them a good enough commission rate, they might buy the product themselves and actually make content for you if they actually really like the product. The best way, though, by far, to really blow up your account, to really blow up your brand on TikTok, you've got to go hunting for whales. Okay, what do I mean by this? I mean you want to be getting the best creators possible. I know that's very obvious, okay, but I'm just putting it out there regardless. The problem is, especially when we're earlier stage, the top creators, they have all the leverage. Some of us might think because we're the brand owner, we give out a free sample, whatever, that we've got no, you don't. Okay, get that out of your head. The top creators that are bringing in hundreds of thousands, $1 million, whatever, per month or per year, whatever, they've got all the leverage. They're the ones that can really blow up your brand and then get a bunch of other people to actually work with you that you've never even heard of, because they see your product, the videos performing well, and then all of a sudden other people want to join as well. How do we go about finding these people? This is the hard part, though, because top creators in general, they only want to work, generally speaking, with vetted products. They want to work with products that have seen some success, sales. Maybe they're in the top 10, 20 or so in Kalo data, Fastmoss, these tools. They're all using, the top creators are most likely using these tools and viewing the products from there. So if we can get onto those platforms based on GMV performance, that's where the gold can lie. To get some of these people, we can use certain tactics. I've mentioned previous ones here before in previous presentations, etc. Other things that we could be doing, I don't think that I've covered previously. One other way I've seen work is doing it through TikTok lives. What do I mean by this? I mean specifically going on lives of good performing creators, good lives where they're ranking in a lot of GMV, they've got a lot of viewers, whatever. You can find this information, like I say, in general on using tools like Kalo data, Fastmoss, as well as scrolling on your For You page. Maybe you find some good lives that are relevant to your niche product. And the benefit with this is because on TikTok lives, the live creator is able to see the message from literally during the live. The difference between this and sending them just a random affiliate message is because most creators, they don't look at their DMs, they don't look at their TikTok messages that they receive from brand owners, etc., because they're just getting, especially the top performing creators, tens, even hundreds of messages per day. So you're going to have a tough time grabbing their attention. So this could be a good way of getting their attention. Okay, calibrate. Obviously, I'm not saying to spam, tell them and meet like every single message, like make, you need to be calibrated with it. But what I'm getting at is that you're able to better get their attention there simply because they're forced to view it, they're forced to see. So this is a good way. And also don't forget, I know we've mainly been speaking about video creators in these presentations, but live creators, they're very, very good as well. Some of them are making much more money, some of them, than even video creators. So this isn't something to put aside either. Some products are better suited for lives as well. So this could be certainly a good alternative path for people potentially struggling or maybe having issues. Maybe they're with videos and maybe they want to implement more lives. So food for thought on that front as well. And also another strategy, like I say, it's hard to get creators' attention. But one of the things, a lot of affiliates, a lot of people, especially the top performing ones, they're part of communities. They're involved in Discord. What I have seen work is to join some of these TikTok communities. You can find them by scrolling on your For You page. There are people, for instance, try to coach how to be a good TikTok affiliate. If you're able to get into one of these communities, and then and obviously you need to check the rules, because a lot of these communities, they don't allow outside marketing. So that's not something that I'm advocating for. But you're able to get a list of the better creators, like some really good quality creators a lot of times. So look for these. You can look for these people on Discord. Again, scrolling on your For You page, you're able to better see where the communities are, and also, if you do join one of these communities and you're able to provide some sort of value there, whether it's to the community or to the actual owner of the community, and then arrange for some sort of deal potentially. So this is another good way of being able to get some of the better performing creators as well. So look for these are strategies that I've seen work recently, and yeah, so probably more important nowadays as it's even harder to get attention from creators. Okay, so I wanted to. So I know I've been talking quite a lot regarding regarding outreach. So let's move this along a bit more. I want to talk a bit more about higher ticket products, more restricted products. I had a couple of questions in the last presentation with regards to that. By the way, throughout this presentation, I'm just going to carry on talking for anyone who's just joined or recently joined. But please, if you've got any questions, feel free to stop me, interrupt, and just ask your question. By the way, otherwise I'll leave it for the Q&A. But yeah, so let's transition more into these restricted products. Okay, so I had like I say, a few questions with regards to medical products, doctor approved subscription products, for instance, and I've seen this be a bit less restricted in some other platforms, but when it comes strictly to TikTok here, TikTok is just, incredibly restrictive when it comes to this kind of content with regards to these kind of products. I think in general, even if you are able to get through, which you're going to have a tough time anyway, get through your product being successfully launched on Seller Center, literally on the TikTok app as something to purchase on TikTok Shop, even if you're able to get through that stage, you're still going to have a very tough time with regards to the content creation aspect itself. It's more or less restrictive depending on which region you're at, as in if you're US based, UK based, European, etc. In the US, luckily, the restrictions are a bit less. However, compliance claims are going to be very difficult with these types of products. It's difficult enough, for instance, with weight gain, weight loss products, like that's pretty difficult as it is. This is another level. So what I mean by this, you're able to freely make content, sure, but that doesn't mean that TikTok Shop's going to promote it. So you might get consistent violations when making this kind of content. It's like a minefield navigating the content creation aspect. And that's important for you because obviously if it's harder to actually make content for, it's going to be much harder to get affiliates to actually make that content. So this is the reason we need to understand it from that perspective as well. Bottom line, I do want to give you a quick strategy for these types of products for whoever is in this type of niche. What I would recommend in general, probably not a good strategy to prioritize TikTok Shop for this. However, I think you could make something work with TikTok Organic. What's the difference? So with TikTok Shop, I mean specifically where you register the product on the TikTok platform, where you're able to tag the product and then it's promoted on the video, where there's a quick shop link for it. That's TikTok Shop. With TikTok Organic, I mean just making just normal content, just content without a tag, without any product associated with it, but you're referencing them to a Shopify page or basically a page outside of the TikTok app. How would you do this? I would recommend having the website, the links to the product, whatever, on the bio of the account. You're only able to do that if you reach a certain threshold of amount of followers. So you can quickly do that. You can purchase a cheap account if you wanted to go down that route, if you really wanted to start from minute zero. Alternatively, though, if you're not even at 1,000 followers, you're probably not going to make much sales. So your first priority, regardless, is to make converting high quality content and develop some followers in that way. So bottom line, I would bring the eyeballs outside of the TikTok platform, bring them over to your Shopify site, your website, whatever it is. that's the game plan that I would recommend more for these restrictive products. The benefit of it, obviously, is that as well, one of the benefits of this is that in terms of the content creation aspect, it does become easier. TikTok Shop is a lot more restrictive than just normal organic TikTok content. So that doesn't mean to say that there's not going to be any restrictions, or you don't need to be careful with claims, but essentially it's a bit looser in terms of the wording, in terms of what you can and can't say. This is specifically what I would the way I would go about these types of products on TikTok. Okay. For higher ticket products, excuse me one sec. For higher ticket products, I think because obviously we had a question just a few minutes ago with regards to the to someone here doing a high ticket product. The good news is that I think you guys are joining, for anyone selling high ticket products, you're joining TikTok more at a stage where I think it's a more of an exciting stage, I think, actually, for you guys, because I remember 2-3 years ago when working with TikTok, that it was incredibly difficult, from, if I recall correctly, to find products that to find higher ticket products. I never used to find these, for instance, vacuum cleaners, TVs, whatever, on TikTok Shop, simply because just no one was promoting that way. It was a lot more just obviously just impulse purchases. So people who were purchasing on TikTok basically saw a video, liked the video, and maybe just purchased the product there and there. Obviously, this is a lot harder to do with high ticket products, because, you know, how would you guys go about purchasing, for instance, a TV, $500, $1,000 TV? You're probably going to look at the video. Maybe you're going to compare it with other videos. Maybe you're going to take some time to think about it, come back to it tomorrow, speak to your spouse, speak to your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, whoever, and then make a decision. So, but having said that, I think this is a very good example of a brand that, for you guys doing high ticket products, to actually look at into a bit more depth. There, I would say Shark is setting more of the blueprint for higher ticket products. And since then, since they started, I'm seeing other stuff like for instance, treadmills, TVs, high ticket items. So it certainly can be done. These Shark, for instance, I'm pretty sure they're making, if I remember correctly, like over 1 million GMV per month. So certainly doable. And the reason for that is, let me give you some examples in terms of the marketing aspect, because I know I said that I would discuss this a bit more. So I wanted to just briefly go through marketing more for higher ticket products. Okay, so I've got some examples here. What I think, ideally, okay, the ideal high ticket product is going to have, it is very visually, you're able to make some very visual content with TikTok. Okay, what I mean by this is, like, for instance, one of the reasons why Shark, for instance, has done so well is because this product is look at this, for instance, like, it's just golden. Like, how many people who work at home, who clean at home, cleaners, moms, dads, whatever, that are cleaning at home, have, like, for instance, a Hoover, for instance, that they need to scrub up and down several times to be able to get it to work effectively. This is so visual, this, like, kind of before and after content. If you're able to make content with your higher ticket products that is as visually strong as this, like this kind of before and after kind of stuff, then you're probably onto something very good. What I've seen work very well, which Shark have done very well, is I remember this kind of content being more for this being basically YouTube videos, where essentially they're comparing a lot of, like, different products all in one. TikTok, essentially what they've done is boil it down into, like, instead of a 10-minute YouTube video, to like a 1-minute or 2-minute TikTok video. That's been working, like, this type of content's been working very well. So just look at what they're doing and aim to do something, aim to apply similar principles to your product is what I would recommend. They're, like I say, they're setting out the blueprint for higher ticket products. If you don't have a very clear before and after or high visual thing, there are other ways, you know, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, as they say. This is a very good example. For instance, this creator, I think he made quite a lot of money. Just look how native this is. Overall with TikTok, you want to be making organic content. Like, this is very good. You don't need high production budgets or anything like that. This is just a guy. So he's selling a treadmill here. Okay. Why does this work so well? Simply because a lot of who doesn't watch TV, for instance, a lot of people are watching TV, sitting at home. Maybe a lot of these resonate with, okay, maybe I'm getting overweight. Maybe I should be careful with what I eat. And this guy, he's giving a reason why this could be a good investment. So like people watching Love Island or whatever that was at home, that you could be getting your steps in at the same time. And this looks a bit like a skit. So this type of native content, do stuff like this, I would say. This is another good example. Yeah.
So how do we know
So-
which content is going to go viral? I think that's up to
You-
luck, right? We don't
You
really
don't.
know what's going to go viral.
There's no guarantee of going viral, okay? So that's one thing, one caveat I will say. What you can do is you can put a lot of things in your favor to maximize the possibility for it, simply by understanding TikTok better. This is why I'm quite going into quite a lot of depth in terms of the content aspect. In this presentation alone, I've been speaking a lot about content, simply because the more you understand this, the better you're going to be able to perform from a managerial perspective as well. You're going to be able to better screen out affiliates. If you're making your own content, you know, that's another thing, but you'll be able to understand who's more likely to actually perform, okay? This what I'm looking for with specific creators, for instance, I know this guy is doing a lot of money, for instance. Not all of his videos go viral, as you see, but this guy clearly understands TikTok because, like, looking at his content, for instance, I'm seeing this kind of Snapchat skit content, for instance, which is very, very native to TikTok. I've seen this cross niche, cross products. A lot of people are doing this style of content, so you immediately know that this guy is better suited for TikTok and potentially better suited for your product. And also you're able to also remember, use tools like Kalo data, Fastmask, look up that creator, and then you're able to see how much sales he's actually making for the product. For this specific TV product, he's making a lot of money. I remember looking at this particular guy, for instance. He's got 100K views in this particular video. If he were doing, I think you mentioned bed sheets was your product. If he's doing something of a similar niche, you know, this would be a very good guy to actually reach out to, arrange some sort of retainer deal, or if you're unable to get him through just commissions alone. Do you see what I mean here? Like, in terms of the content, you're looking down, you're seeing good performance data. Like I say, there's no guarantee that you can that he will or she will go viral, but you're able to stack certain things in your favor by just understanding just from the content creation perspective a lot better. Does that make sense? Is there do I have any questions on this front at all, or anything further with regards to high ticket content?
For Kalo data and Fastmask, is there a subscription fee attached to it, or these free
Yes.
platforms?
Yes, there is a subscription fee for Kalo data. If I remember correctly, I think it's $80 a month. Worthwhile investment if you're doing high ticket products, and I would say for 80% plus of brand owners, it's definitely worth it. I'd say Kalo data, either Kalo data or Fastmask. You don't need both.
Okay.
Certainly, it's an investment. You need to invest. It's a worthwhile investment, I would say.
And we don't have to
Especially
like continuously do it, right? Do it for 3 months and see what we get. Correct?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I think you
So
said something about 3
basically,
months.
we don't have to keep paying it for the whole year, right? Try it for like a month or two, see if the creators are working out, and then we can always cancel.
With Kalo data fast, all these subscription products, you're always able to cancel. You're able, if you're skeptical or if you've got low budgets, I would do, you know, a monthly subscription. You're paying $80 a month. Obviously for the yearly subscription, that's less. But in general, if you want to scale a brand on TikTok, you know, I heard 3 months. You're going to have to dedicate time and energy and money to it. So if you're only working on a 3-month window, that is very short, especially for high ticket products where you've got essentially you're working against the what's the phrase? Essentially, you've got another thing against you with the fact that it's just more of an expensive product. So you should be for any TikTok brand, you should be looking at it for more than a 3-month perspective. So change strategies with them.
Kalo data is not just for TikTok. Is it for everything, or is it just specific?
Halo data is for TikTok. You're not going to get useful data for Instagram or YouTube or anything like that. It's purely for TikTok. TikTok Shop, I think, is only for TikTok Shop.
Okay.
Cool. Right. If there's no other questions, I'll keep plowing through. Like I say, feel free to interrupt if there's anything else as well. But like I say, I wanted to give a bit of a game plan in terms of higher ticket products. Hopefully that gives you some ideas. Like I say, take a look at some of these big brands for creating the blueprint for it, okay? It's not easy to do high ticket products, but you are in a good situation right now where there's just more momentum with it. And I think that's probably going to carry on as well. That's going to increase a lot more. So yeah, ever-changing environment, obviously. What did I want to finish off with? So in terms of, and yeah, like I say, you want to be making this into more of a predictive model. This goes for high ticket, low ticket products, but especially for higher ticket products. What I mean by this is that you want to be figuring out specifically how many views in general you need to get in order to make a sale. So, because if you're able to predict, if you're able to say, for instance, I can sell a TV at 28K views, then you know specifically how much, it's not as much guesswork. It can be a lot more predictive. So just having a benchmark in terms of how many views you're able to get per sale, make everything as performance-based as possible, looking at performance data, okay? To minimize guesswork on this front, especially for higher ticket products, okay? Is what you need to be looking into. Okay, so let's move on to the next pillar, copywriting. So as I mentioned, when it comes to with TikTok, so you can have the best managerial team, best administrative settings, best affiliate listing, all the infrastructure in place, etc., etc. But if your videos are just terrible or just not up to par, lower quality content, it doesn't matter how good your setup is, how much investment you're in general making. Obviously, if you're throwing out millions, that's a bit more of a caveat, but 90% of cases, if your content is bad, it doesn't matter how good your administrative setting is, it's probably not going to work out on TikTok. And this is why, like I say, I keep repeating why I've been so adamant in terms of the content creation perspective, why it's so important to understand this when you're getting into the TikTok game. Because pumping out volume, I've seen some brands, for instance, pumping out hundreds of videos or a lot of videos on a daily, weekly, whatever basis. But bear in mind, one good quality video can be worth hundreds, if not thousands, mediocre / lower quality content. So bear that in mind in terms of content quality. You need to be reaching a certain quality in your content, taking care of the copywriting, taking care in terms of what you're pitching specifically, to better promote your product. I know that goes without saying, but it's surprising, honestly, how neglected that can be in some cases with some brand owners that I've seen over my time here. And this brings me on to, I suppose, what in general I see that's been working recently, the last couple of years, what's working still right now. This kind of thing of, I think some people have labeled it as identity osmosis. What this means is just letting real customers just value shape your brand by just sharing some of these just messy real life stuff. Like I mentioned, it doesn't need to be polished content. It can literally be just someone just like they've got a phone, literally just yap into the camera, just doing a native native normal story but seems authentic, real, like this isn't too high effort. Like you can literally get a tripod, get a camera, go to the street, and then just have a fake microphone if that's too much hassle, and just like speak these kind of street quality content. For instance, you could be pumping this kind of stuff, or you might not even need to leave your room. Just making content like this looks like a work desk. And do you see what I mean? This looks very native. It looks very organic, has this kind of real feel to it, not like some of this meta polished content. And the reason why I'm bringing this up quite a lot is because I've seen a lot of successful people on Meta, for instance, just come on to TikTok. They think they just plug in all the creators that are working on Meta and then do it on TikTok. And it doesn't quite work that way in most cases. TikTok content is different. They want a different kind of story, a different feel to the content. And one of the ways, like I say, is if you're able to implement this kind of identity osmosis kind of thing without generally doing too high sales pitches, more of instead of implementing more of a demand ladder kind of structure, then generally speaking, you're probably going to do better in TikTok on that respect. What I mean by this specifically is just looking at it more from a bit more of a top of funnel kind of perspective, or middle of funnel, not so much just like doing a hard sales pitch at the very beginning. A lot of people on TikTok, like I say, they're there to be entertained. People don't log into TikTok wondering what to purchase next, or they're prepped up to purchase something. They go there to watch I don't know, whatever's popular happening right now culturally, and then they'll stumble onto your product, onto one of your videos from one of your affiliates, and then they might consider purchasing. But what you want to do is do this in a kind of artsy way, where you're able to, for instance, give out a certain problem, more of a top of funnel kind of perspective, speaking about a specific pain point that is relatable to people. For instance, you've got a certain back pain, for instance, and just making some content with regards to that, and then later plugging in your product, or more middle of funnel kind of stuff like transformations, authentic testimonial kind of content, maybe like this kind of street interviews, whatever, where it doesn't come across as just a massive sales pitch from the start. Obviously, you can do this kind of bottom of funnel sales pitches from the very beginning, but you're probably limiting yourself quite a lot doing it this way. Okay, so like I say, bottom line is people aren't there to be sold to initially, so you need to be working with affiliates that understand this first and foremost, I think. So this is the reason why personally I'm not a big fan of this kind of bottom of funnel. You just see the product and you're just talking to it, because it's just not very native to TikTok, and it's not likely to go viral in most cases. Yeah. Let me give a few ideas, here and there in terms of what you could be doing. For instance, obviously, same general rules apply across, for anyone who works with Meta or any other platforms. The hook is obviously probably the most important part still of the video. There's a lot of things that extrapolate onto TikTok. You could be doing things like these kind of desire first hooks, where for instance, you're trying to trip up. Essentially, you're trying to scroll stop someone. People are constantly scrolling. You want to actually get someone to pay attention that's relevant to your product in an entertaining way. This is, for instance, a good example. For instance, there's a lot of different hook styles, so I'm not going to yap on too long for this. But for instance, this would certainly grab someone's attention in this kind of market. I stopped doing yoga and it fixed, for instance, my back pain. That kind of grabs someone in that market, because obviously most people think that obviously yoga is good for you, that you stretch yourself out, that it's probably going to improve your back pain, going to improve your body, your fitness overall. So this kind of is counterintuitive. So you want to be making this kind of content, or working with affiliates that understand this and just are able to kind of if, let's say, someone scrolls past and they're like, hang on, what did I just hear? Do you see what I mean by that? I know that's very abstract what I'm mentioning, but in terms of content itself, if this is something that you're looking to work on for your own brand page as well, one general rule, maybe not so much of a rule, but one general thing that I've seen work very well across various different brands is essentially don't try and reinvent the wheel. Okay, aim to see what's already working out there recently and implement that same framework and concept that was already successful onto your product, onto your brand, and then you're more likely to see success. I know that's very abstract, so I want to give a very quick example for anyone out here who is making their own content, their own brand content, for instance. This should hopefully help to visualize things a lot better for you guys, okay? So I want to give you, in terms of my mindset with this, I was trying to sell this kind of a health supplement, okay? This was a to improve your stomach. It's this kind of green superfood kind of thing, okay? This was for a UK brand. This is a different video that I saw, okay? So the reason I'm pointing this out is because you could be applying these kind of concepts for your brand, looking for affiliates that understand this, okay? So this is why it's useful. So this particular video that I took personal inspiration from was this kind of Shark Tank video. For anyone who's unfamiliar with this is a famous US TV program with investors who look to invest in people's products that actually pitch to them, okay? This video specifically this illustrates more the entertainment aspect. So as opposed to literally just plugging in the product from the get-go, this person here has been speaking about this Shark Tank product, this neuro gum product that they're promoting here, seeing what the sharks are talking about, certain problems associated with it, maybe their concerns, etc. And they're doing this kind of hero journey kind of video here, where essentially they were rejected. Then the owner is then talking about the product afterwards. Then they show up on Joe Rogan. Suddenly it's having success. And then boom, this person then goes on to talk about the actual sales aspect, how this brand has actually done very well for themselves, despite that they had doubts. Talking about now some of the sciencey aspects, why this product is good for you, etc., comparing it with competitors, and then a good CTA at the end. Okay. The reason why I'm pointing that, going descriptive with that, so this is essentially what I did with in this particular case. Shark Tank doesn't exist in the UK. However, so therefore you could say, for instance, but that doesn't mean to say that this concept here specifically doesn't work. There is a similar type of program in the UK called, for instance, Dragon's Den. For anyone who lives in the UK, they're very familiar with this. And what I did specifically here was use essentially the same concept. Like they're having doubts with the sharks, dragons, whatever. They have their concerns, the pain points, etc. Maybe they got rejected, and then talking about the hero journey of the specific product. And then, how it's been going over time. And then afterwards, going into the sales pitch, talking about how it's been going after Dragon's Den. Do you see what I mean? The same framework that was applied here for this product, do it here. That's a very illustrative example of kind of the content that would, what I mean by taking concepts that work with other industries, other niches, other products, and applying it to your product. So you're not reinventing the wheel in a lot of cases. You can borrow what's actually working right now and apply it to your own products, okay? So this is a good way of being able to get off the ground with TikTok, okay? That I've used with previous brands, okay? So so hopefully that gives you a good example, okay? I don't want to obviously go on too long with regards to that. Let's see how we're doing for time as well. I think I've got a bit more time. Like I say, if you've got any other questions, feel free to chime in the meantime. It doesn't need to be as complex as also, just need, in that specific example, relying on a completely different TV show. It can be a lot simpler than that. Another very quick example, for instance, like I say, you don't need to reinvent the wheel in a lot of cases. This is for anyone who doesn't know Dr. Malaxin, for instance. This is a very famous brand that's doing very well right now. It's a skincare brand, mainly appealing to female audiences, and both in the UK and the US doing very well. And this was a trend that I was seeing circulating quite a lot. Do you see why this grabs so much attention? Because it looks like this woman is in pain or is going through some sort of issue. You're seeing her all bandaged up. And I would say that's most of the reason why this was actually successful. Not so much the copywriting for the rest of it, but just the hook alone, this really attention grabbing concept. But maybe you've seen this kind of content circulating around. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Or you could, for instance, in that particular case, this kind of content was working very well. However, that was mainly they were mainly seeing women do that type of content. Why not get a man instead, a younger man as well? It's like completely different, targets different demographics. Maybe it targets a bit better younger audiences, younger women, for instance, or maybe some men here and there. Do you see what I mean? You don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel. You can do a lot of, so essentially he's done the same kind of concept, but applying it with like a male creator in this particular case. So yeah, these are the kind of ideas, these are the kind of things that you could be sending off to your affiliate network, to the people that are working with your particular brand. If you're seeing something work, put your own spin to it, a bit like this. And this guy, he did very well. He made a lot of money just making that. And that would certainly help to blow up your brand from the get-go. Okay, so I've spoken quite a lot about the content aspect. I've been dialing that quite a lot. I want to spend some time now talking about GMV Max, okay? Because a lot of us are having issues with GMV Max. Maybe we don't know where to start, what to do specifically for this. But, excuse me. But this is something that's just been changing TikTok overall, the GMV Max platform. For anyone who doesn't know, GMV Max is the system. Excuse me, got a bit of a cough here. It's this new ad system in the last year or so that TikTok's been rolling out. It's in full effect at this point, where what TikTok does, instead of you sniping specific ads, instead of you finding certain videos that you think would do well and then putting ad spend behind it, TikTok looks at all of the videos. So it will look at all of your brand videos, the ones with product cards, the affiliate videos, etc. Takes that all into consideration. All you do in general is put a specific ROAS goal, specific spend goal, and just let TikTok do its thing. TikTok will find which ones do better according to which ones are favoring the algorithm, and then boom, it's going to put ad spend on there to help you actually attain a certain ROAS, a certain goals that you're looking for. Okay, which sounds great, doesn't it? I wanted to actually mention some of the, discuss this obviously in a bit more depth, but I don't want people to get 100% too carried away with this as well. You need to be conscious in terms of some of the issues associated with this, some of the things that you need to know. One of the main things I would say is that GMV Max is a blender, okay? What I mean by this, it's a system where essentially you put a certain target ROI, certain spend goal, whatever, takes all of that into consideration. But what you might not know is that it takes into, you may have seen like some crazy ROAS, crazy ROIs of certain accounts, certain people promoting like 10x, 12x ROAS, whatever. The reason for this is because GMV Max doesn't differentiate in terms of the final ROI, the thing that it's calibrating towards. It doesn't differentiate between organic content and ads content, okay? So what I mean, so this is the reason why we see some of this more inflated ROI in certain cases. TikTok, the ROI is the metric of all of these put together. So it's the paid ads, the organics, the affiliate sales divided by just the ad spend. So this is why we can get some really inflated GMV Max. So for instance, if we're putting minimum ad spend behind a certain campaign, but we've got quite a lot of viral videos that have brought in sales, then you can make some you might think that you're doing great in terms of ROI, getting crazy results, when really it's the affiliate and the organic content that's driving home most of the sales, where you weren't putting money in the first place. This is a good example here to illustrate it a bit. So for instance, say you're spending $4,500 on paid ads, you've received $3,500 in sales in affiliate organic content. Overall, that makes $8,000 in terms of revenue, but you put $2,000 in ad spend. TikTok is going to calculate it at a 4x ROAS, 4x ROI, when in actual fact, the actual true one would be, in this particular case, the paid ad sales divided by the ad spend, right? This is the thing we're trying to actually figure out in terms of if the money that we're investing into these campaigns is actually giving us a good return on investment. So take that into consideration. Take that into consideration when you're running GMV Max campaigns. So you're going to have to calibrate according to this. Excuse me. So this is what I mean by being a bit more deceptive with this. So and because it's a blender, you can't use the real GMV Max metric. You need to be looking at this kind of thing. So if you're launching a GMV Max campaign on a brand new account with a brand new pixel, 0 organic sales, bear in mind as well that GMV Max operates better where there's certain performance data associated with a campaign. What I mean by this, it relies quite a lot on, for instance, you need to be having a certain amount of videos, I would say, before actually running a GMV Max campaign. So I don't recommend running GMV Max campaigns if very, very least, if you've got 50 videos, don't do it at all before then. I would say 50 is way too short still. Ideally, you want to have at least 100, if not 250 videos already for the specific product that you're promoting, okay? So like the reason for this, it needs a certain amount of performance data to be able to understand which videos are better likely to perform, okay? And if you're running it before then, you're more likely to be wasting your money, wasting spend, etc. And at the end of the day, we're looking to get a return on investment in terms of what we're doing, okay? Let's talk a bit more in terms of the benefits, why this can actually be good, and also why what's the best way of going about running GMV Max. So aside from the amount of video threshold that you should be aiming towards, one of the good things about running this as opposed to other different ad strategies on TikTok is that TikTok can offer you a certain protection in terms of your ROAS, your certain ROI goals. Okay, so if you miss it, to actually be able to achieve this, in general, you need to be running with a certain minimum ad spend that TikTok specifically recommends. In the UK, I remember this is around £200. I think in the US it's around I want to say around $250, maybe slightly more, slightly less. And putting this together with a certain ROI goal, if you actually work with TikTok on that front and you don't achieve the ROI that you're looking for, TikTok can offer you certain ad credits. So let's say you missed out on the certain goal, well, TikTok can offer you certain ad credits where you're not spending as much or even on certain ads in certain cases. And so basically potentially free marketing if you want to look at it in that perspective. And also the other benefit of working with this GMV Max campaigns, GMV Max ads, is that it can offer you certain ad breaks, commission breaks, as well. I know a lot of us, when we're starting out, we like I've recommended previously, start off with higher commission rates in general. This is a good way to actually try to get some of that money back. So let's say you work with, a crazy, let's say, a 30%, it's not that crazy anyway, 30% commission rate. And obviously you want to be getting some money back. So if you work with TikTok, it can return you, I think I've seen something like 7-9% in general commission rate back. So instead of spending 30% to affiliates who are actually promoting your products, you're spending 23% now. So this is the benefit of working with this as well as obviously the main one being that there's no guesswork. TikTok puts out spend where you're more likely to actually get your money back. And in a lot of cases, what I've seen from my experience is if the ROI goal isn't met, or if it's too far away, then TikTok will, in general, in a lot of cases, throttle the spend altogether. So it doesn't. So you're not So essentially, it prevents you as much from wasting all the money that you could potentially have wasted. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's say we get a a successful GMV Max campaign. You know, we're getting some data in, it's actually looking all right. What do we do next? So what I would recommend in this case, so you've got some ad spend behind you, getting it seems to actually be reaching the ROI goal that you're looking for. Don't go about shocking the algorithm, okay? Don't go about changing it from, say, for instance, you're operating at a 2.5x ROAS, and suddenly you're changing it to a 7x or 8x. Don't do that. That's like too distant. Progressively improve it. So what I mean by this, increase it by a conservative margin. At a time span where you're giving TikTok a chance to actually do its thing, to actually operate properly. Some like 48, 72 hours I've seen work in a lot of cases. Just increasing it every 20% every 48, 72 hours, maybe slightly longer if you want to be more conservative. And just do it progressively until you reach a certain point where maybe you're seeing some a bit more creative fatigue or whatever. Then, you know, that's when you can hone it back slightly. But from there, there's a lot of opportunity to be able to scale it to the specific ROAS goal you may need or that you're desiring. Go about it this way. I would strongly recommend, especially if you're making money. You know, obviously we want to be making money fast, but you know, if you're making money already this way, you know, you can wait a bit longer to make it to get it to where you want it to work at specifically. Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to mention here is I wanted to talk a bit more about ad fatigue. So because I briefly touched on that previously. What happens when you start to flatline? So for instance, you're scaling your ROAS to a certain threshold, and then maybe you're getting some ad fatigue. What do I mean by this? I mean that people are getting fed up of seeing your content. Maybe it's being too heavily promoted and people are just scrolling past more quickly. Generally speaking, a good indicator to understand if you're falling into more of an ad fatigue category is if your sales are coming up mainly from bottom of funnel, product card kind of content. Excuse me. This is generally an indicator from my experience that people are getting a bit more fed up of your content. So what do we do in these kind of scenarios? Okay, it comes down to the same point as what we've been talking about previously. We need to just be feeding TikTok GMV Max with just new, better, new angles, new creatives, bottom line. So new angles, new ideas, new iterations. We don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel, like I've been mentioning. That Neuro whatever brand that I've been seeing them do their same content, literally pretty much the same angle for years at this point. I think like 3 years, to basically milking that Shark Tank content, for instance. So so like I said, there are just various ways you can do new iterations, but essentially bottom line is you need to be giving, this is why it's so important to have the affiliate outreach, a bunch of people making content on a daily, weekly basis, because then you're able to feed GMV Max, feed TikTok, more creatives. TikTok's an engine, it needs its fuel. Its fuel is the creatives in this particular case. So please get all the infrastructure in place to be able to maximize the most, because you'll find on TikTok in general, as opposed to, for instance, other platforms, there's a reason why there's a term called TikTok brain, because there's a very low attention span here. So if the same content is being circulated over and over, your GMV Max campaign is going to have a relatively low lifespan in that frame. I think let's see. Okay. Whereabouts? So in terms of, and like I've mentioned, I think I've mentioned, one final thing I wanted to bring up in terms of GMV Max. I know a lot of us are working with different products within our brand. If we're going with a coffee example, for instance, like I've mentioned previously, maybe you've got, I don't know, a high caffeine coffee, maybe you've got mushroom coffee, maybe you've got this and there, some other stuff. Please don't lump in all of your products into one GMV Max campaign, okay? I know it's inconvenient, especially if we're working with lower budgets as well, but you're going to confuse TikTok. You're going to confuse it with you're going to confuse the campaign itself if you'd go about it this way. Simply because just think about it logically. Certain products appeal more to certain audiences. They serve different purposes in a lot of cases. With the coffee example, for instance, there's a community presumably more associated for high caffeine. For a mushroom coffee, for instance, maybe that appeals more to women, more to older people. I don't know. But essentially, do you get what I mean? They're different audiences, different demographics. So bundling all in one is going to confuse TikTok. So bottom line is, have this, do separate campaigns for separate products. Get one, start off with your hero product, start off with your better product, and get that working, make it self-sufficient. And then obviously if we're working with lower budgets, then we can start moving on, focusing on other products as well after that. Okay.
Hello, Jason.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, sorry. I think I
Yep.
apologize. I was late and I missed, I think, the first 10 minutes of your presentation. On
No worries.
getting started on Kruva, I want to start looking for the TikTok influencers. Is that where you start? If you go on Kruva, it helps you find certain niches, or is that only for outreach after I've already found them? I'm trying to find the people who do the video, the influencers.
I think that's a yes to essentially both of your kind of questions that you had there. So Kruva, yes, what it is, it's an affiliate outreach tool where you're going to be able to quickly filter out the best performing affiliates on TikTok Shop to potentially work with your product. You can filter out affiliates by your niche. So let's say you're working with, I don't know, I heard
do
bed
fitness.
sheets earlier.
I do fitness, so I'll
Perfect.
look at, I'll do Gym Bro, whatever.
Perfect. You can filter it out for that niche or whatever, and whatever's closest to that niche, and yeah, from there you should be able to get a bunch of affiliates, send out literally outreach messages on a daily basis to those affiliates.
So that's the I just want to make just to confirm that platform for both finding and doing the outreach. That's perfect then. I didn't know if I was finding the influencers on one, or I can probably you find them organically too. I mean, there's probably a couple of ways to find them. Is there another platform to find them?
Yeah, there are many ways, obviously, to find creators, influencers, or etc. You've mentioned, for instance, the TikTok For You page. That's a good way of just scrolling, finding the better performing creators. But what I will say with Kruva, it's a lot of the creators that you'll find is basically just lumped in. It's not quite as easy to scroll through the creators and find which ones are. I mean, you can put certain filtering criteria to look for the very top. What I would typically do, as I've mentioned, is get a tool like Kalo Data or FastMoss, where you can literally go into competitors, look at competitors' data, to look at their sales, and from there also you're able to see the top performing creators. In your case, in the fitness niche, for instance, for whatever similar. Kalo, I would recommend Kalo Data as well, or FastMoss is, I think, works in a very similar way. But yeah, I would recommend having Kalo Data as well in your particular case, I think, because it sounds like you want to be quite specific with some of the creators that you're looking for. Okay, I certainly recommend that.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you.
And also that brings me down. I am finishing off here, by the way, guys. I will be obviously leaving a few minutes as well for any other Q&As afterwards. But just to finish off this last slide or two that I've got here, that brings me on to the whale affiliates, whale creators that I've discussed previously, where the best way to just expand your growth to just the brand in general. The sooner you're able to get a great creator, or someone essentially making great content which literally goes viral and converts, the better. Okay, just one of these videos can do so well for your brand. And if you can't convert with that video, at least get a video that goes viral. I know that, and what do I mean by that? If the video doesn't convert, that video will still get views on platforms like Social One, Daily Virals, these tools that affiliates use, where all the top performing affiliates in general are at. They're constantly looking at what products to perform, what ideas I can use for my own videos to actually go viral. And so therefore, if you're able to get your product, some videos on those types of platforms by actually getting a viral video, there's going to be people that are going to look at that product and think, okay, I think I can actually make content that actually might convert and can actually make similar content to go viral as well. So therefore, you'll start bringing in the sheep to the shepherd in this particular case. And this is what I mean by getting a whale affiliate. So the sooner you're able to actually get one of these creators that actually is just making just hundreds of thousands, maybe a million, a GMV on a very frequent basis, the better. You can find some of these affiliates in general, on platforms like I say on Kalo Data. Fastmoss is an easy way to find some of these creators, and depends on your budget. Obviously, if you've got no budget, then at least send out things like very high generous commission rates. If you're sending out 10-20% commission rate for something that is has no sales, then I would say good luck to you, simply because I've operated as a creator myself as well, and I would just laugh at that. Why would I promote your product that's got no sales and it's got no social proof, and you're asking me to do this for free? I would just laugh at you in that particular case. You need to be offering very generous commission rates, especially for the top performing creators. Something like 40%, 50% isn't that crazy, really. I know you might make a loss in certain cases. Depends how you want to operate this as a brand, obviously. Depends on your budget. But if you're able to provide something which looks very generous, and then they blow it up, maybe you make a bit of a loss in that video specifically, but there's a much better chance that that video is getting off the brand is getting off the ground, and other people will join in. Other very good affiliates will have that product, the video, on the radar. They'll make their own versions, and you don't need to be offering these crazy high commission rates. In other words, one affiliate can essentially catapult your brand if you actually play this correctly. Again, I don't want anyone here losing their money here. I've mentioned previously there's no guarantee that someone will go viral, okay? But there's certain things that you can do to put the cards more in your favor, is what I'm getting at in terms of trying to give you from a strategic perspective, okay?
Jason, hold on. So a quick question. Let's
Yes.
go back. So you are saying $500,000 per month creator. So that's the revenue the creator is generating. That's what you mean?
So this is just a specific example of what I could mean here by a whale affiliate. I'm not saying that this is just a be all end all kind of creator. What I'm getting at is some of the creators are actually putting out this amount of sales. Okay, there are creators making 500K, a million, whatever, from just one video. Like, some people are making crazy amount of money, and you can tell by just going on Kalo Data, Seller Center. You can find some of these people. Obviously, if if there's creators out there making 100K, 50K per month, for instance, these are still very, very, very good creators. It's not easy to make 50K, for instance, on TikTok just as an affiliate. So all these people making high GMV, in other words, they're the ones that best understand TikTok, are best suited potentially to actually blow up your brand. Okay.
So now, having said that, how as a small business owner, 40 to 50% commission is the only way they are going to talk to us?
And again, I'm just giving examples here. Okay, so what I'm getting at is be very generous with the commission rates you give out. You need to figure out what every brand is going to be different. Your margins are going to be different as a brand owner, right? If 50% is just like too high, just unsuitable, then obviously don't do that. But what I'm getting at is the more generous you are with the commission rate, essentially, bottom line, these creators, these top ones, they have all the leverage. How are you going to get them to work with you? The best way, and the creators in general, they just care about how much money they can make. So the more commission rate you're able to give out to them, the more appealing the offer is, and therefore you're compensating for instance, the lack of sales that you may have already received, the lack of reviews that your listing has. So this is a good way of compensating by being more generous with your offer to incentivize some of these top performing affiliates, top performing creators. Okay, so like I say, this isn't like a die-hard number, but what I'm getting at is the more generous you are with the number, the more likely you're going to be able to get their attention. Okay.
Jason, how do you find the influencers on the Seller Central? Is there a button on the side? I'm not logged into my Seller Central, but when I go in there, what is the method of finding them?
Yeah, excuse me. I think I did mention Seller Center previously. It's not great for finding creators that you can find creators. What you can do, for instance, the way I typically use Seller Center is where if I'm scrolling my For You page and just looking for creators for instance, a brand, and I come across this woman, man, whoever, who is very good. From there, I can get their TikTok username, plug it into Seller Center, and then from there, if I recall correctly, I think you can see their GMV, how much money they're actually making on TikTok. So it's more of a sniping way in terms of finding how much money they're making through Seller Center. This is why tools like Halo Data and Fastmoss are just so much better, because you can just it's just more easy accessible, and you can find things in batches. And like I say, you can be a lot more honed in terms of looking at competitor data, competitor products, and looking for the affiliates that are better suited for that. With Seller Center, it's not an easy way of going about it.
Oh, no problem. I just was thinking it was a different method, but if I'm already going to use the Proven, then there's no point. But yeah, I was just curious to see what that was about. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Seller Center works well when, for instance, I have I use email bots on Career, for instance, and from there, a lot of times from just the email bots alone, I'm not able to see actual performance data. So so I get them to give me their username, and from there I can go onto Seller Center, look up the actual creator, look up how much money they're making, etc. And then, you know, more so using Seller Center more from an individual perspective. Okay, you know, I'm closing here. This is the end of the presentation, roughly, in terms of the content. I know, by the way, I know I've gone over. I've wanted to actually give you guys as much value as possible here. Hopefully this has been useful. Very quickly to recap. So in terms of the first part that we discussed, so you know, we need to be building up our affiliate funnel, move away from a certain perspective of just setting up a Career, reach a Yuka account, and just letting the AI do all the work. We need to be putting some effort as well in terms of filtering out the right people to work with the right commission rates, etc. Developing these relationships. So it's not so much of a passive thing. I've gone into a lot more depth with regards to this. I know I've had a few questions here. I've gone into a lot more depth in a previous presentation. If you don't have it accessible, feel free to send me a message here after the presentation, and I can link it to you. Excuse me. And in terms of higher ticket medical items, like I mentioned, restricted items. So with restricted items, generally speaking, TikTok Shop, you're going to have a harder time. Aim more for a TikTok organic strategy, I would go with. With higher ticket items, you're joining more of an exciting time, I would say. I'm seeing a lot more potential for higher ticket items. I'm seeing them more available, and yeah, take inspiration, take advice from some of the better performing brands like Shark. I think that's the only one that comes to mind right now, but look at these and still implement these native organic contents strategies that are working with impulse purchases with lower ticket items as well. When it comes to your copywriting, implement things like a demand ladder. Aim to just eliminate fluff in general. Make sure, I know it goes without saying, but make sure your copywriting, your hooks are always on point. You don't need to be reinventing the wheel so much. It can be a lot easier than what you think. Look at what's working, implement successful frameworks onto your product, and boom, the next thing you know, you might have a very well-performing video content that is driving your brand forward. And then finally, with regards to GMV Max, don't forget to calculate your blended ROAS. Don't rely specifically on the ROI, the ROAS that TikTok specifically gives you. Generally, work with this with at least 100 videos. If you're desperate, and really need to go quickly and can afford to waste some money, you can start with 50, but not best practice. 100 to 50 videos ideally. I would say 250, and yeah, work according to recommended budgets as well, and scale conservatively. Just basically give TikTok all the tools it needs, and work with it sensibly to be able to get the most out of the platform in this specific case. And finally, the brand owners obviously that are doing well this year in 2026 and onwards with regards to GMV Max are the ones that aren't just, like I say, like with Kruva, with Reacher, just setting up a bot and leaving it. No, they're the ones that are inputting things daily. They're the ones that are keeping on top of obviously the performance data, everything, feeding all the right content that it needs in order to operate properly, and building relationships with the top 1% of creators, and essentially treating whoever's actually driving the brand forward as effectively as possible. Thanks a lot, everyone, for your time here. If anyone does have any more questions, I do appreciate all the questions I've had up to now, but any other questions, I'd like to actually dedicate some time right now for that here.
Yeah, I have a few questions about the affiliate program. Two things. One, maybe a rumor that I've heard, but I heard TikTok is changing quite a bit, and they're starting to clamp down on the amount of just trash on the site. So creators that are promoting little knickknacks and like these products that are just junk. And so what they're doing is, if you are a TikTok shop that doesn't reach $2,000 sales in the first month, they actually restrict you from having a broad affiliate outreach program. Is that something that you've heard about? I know this is very new and how it's changing, but have you heard about that yet, and the program that they're using to like gift affiliates and then refund them, I think?
Yeah, you're right about that. I've been experiencing that quite a lot recently, actually, with some of the newer brands. So from a brand perspective, essentially when you're joining or when you're new to TikTok Shop, you're joining this kind of probation period where TikTok, I don't know if it's quite a glitch or anything, but essentially I've seen brands get restricted 100% with their affiliate outreach because, for instance, they don't have a shop score. And how are they going to get it? I mean, they've just started. So essentially, TikTok it is certainly at a stage where it's certainly harder for newer brands. The best way I can describe in terms of getting past that is obviously going through all the probation stuff. There's a checklist in Seller Center in terms of what you need to do. So go through the quiz, getting the initial orders in. Essentially, what you want to show TikTok from a brand perspective is that you are a reliable seller. So essentially, if customers are purchasing from your shop, that they are likely to get the product, get good customer service, get a product that is actually of good quality. So if you're getting a lot of low quality ratings, then you should probably take a step back, work on improving your product, whatever, to be able to get your shop score, to get things up to scratch. So that's from a brand perspective, okay? So obviously, so to answer your question, TikTok is certainly clamping down on just trash, for lack of a better term, being promoted on their platform. You mentioned something about the number of creators that you can outreach to. That's another thing that is certainly the case. This was less restrictive in the past, but now you can't be, for instance, for anyone who's using these outreach bots, you can't be sending out, you might think, I'll just get the most expensive subscription and send out 10,000, 100,000 messages a day. Nope. TikTok has clamped down on that already, where if you're a new seller, you're going to be very restricted in terms of how many affiliate outreach messages you can send out to. I think if you've got less than £200, around $300 or so in terms of sales, you are restricted to, I think it's 500 affiliate outreach messages. And it goes up according to how many sales you achieve. So if you get $1,000 in sales GMV, affiliate GMV, there's a difference, by the way. Then you join the next tier, and then so on. So you need to build up your trust with TikTok. Okay. The way I would recommend to go about this for newer brands or brands that, they're struggling or within the 10K GMV region is you need, this is the reason why I've gone through this presentation, is you need to be filtering more hard. Your affiliate messages count more, especially at earlier stages, because if you're limited to 500 outreach messages a day, then you want to make sure each one of those messages counts, because otherwise you're limited for the entire week. So play that clever, intelligently. Like I said, I've gone through some strategies here in order to best position you guys for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Just a quick question about how many products should we be looking for each affiliate to sell for us before we're considering them like, I don't know, worth the investment?
I don't look at it that way. The way I look at it is, if the affiliate is just making money, I think, okay, I want to make sure if I understand this correctly. So essentially, I get the impression from your question, let's say you're working with a free sample, they're working at just commission. Make sure, let me know if I've understood this correctly. Okay, so they're working with just commission, you're not doing any retainers or anything like that, and then they're getting some sales in, and then you're trying to figure out how much, if it's worth investing in them further. Did I understand that roughly right, or did I extrapolate?
Yeah, if this isn't for the whale, but this is just for like our regular affiliates who are just making some content for us, and we're repurposing that content, and just to know if the relationship is worth building. I guess even if they sell one,
Yeah.
I've made my money back. I'm just not sure how to measure what relationships are really working.
Yeah, I get you. It is very, there's no full answer to this. The way I go about this is I aim to have I think it's recommended, I know I've touched on this previously, gone into more depth with this previously. I like to have a sort of a community being set up for our product, because what I found with before doing any of this was that I would send out outreach messages, maybe for some free samples here and there. And, one of the bottlenecks I found was that some of these creators would just make 1 or 2 videos and then just never make a video again, where, a lot of them would just maybe not even make some sales. And so obviously wasted investment. So I like to pull in people from, there's various ways you can go about this, but setting up a community where as soon as, if I give out a free sample, I'll give them a separate message, be like, we're building this community, or we've got this community for VIP creators like yourself, etc. And yeah, we think you would be very suited for this. We're giving out, free ideas, free ways of being able to actually be successful, make money with our product. If you're interested, let me know. And therefore, from there, just making them feel more involved, more valued that way, speaking through the group, then constantly providing value in that way. I found that that's been a very good way in terms of getting more out of creators, where they're learning to improve, they're learning to be better in terms of the content creation aspect. You're giving them good ideas that are more likely to convert. And as a result, I find from experience with this that they seem to make just more videos, more than just 1 or 2 videos. They're more open to making better and more content. So this is the way I would encourage people to get more in terms of, especially some of the free creators. To answer more of your question in terms of if I think it's worthwhile actually pursuing, say, this relationship to the next level where I'm investing more in them, maybe it's retainers or whatever. Basically, if essentially I would look at if I'm likely to get my money back with this. Maybe they've made some videos and they've made a few, some videos of 100K, in some cases a million, whatever. And you know, if you've got some creators that are doing well in that sense, then you know, make ways to improve that relationship. You know, make them feel appreciated and known, and yeah, when it makes sense in terms of a budget perspective, offer them retainers as well, and offer them a certain retainer where you're just looking at how much money you're looking to give them, and then how much money they're likely to give you based on their performance data of what they've been able to provide to your brand up to now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Jason, I have a question, and it actually pertains to what you were just answering.
Yeah.
Was I sometimes will have like somebody who will make like you said, one video, you know, it's kind of like, oh, I have this product and they have potential. And when is it an appropriate time? Because I know you worked as an influencer where I would say, you know, I have this idea for a hook. Do you think that you would want to do it? Because I don't know when is appropriate to ever say that, because that's how I feel I am right now. I have people who are kind of unboxing, but I need the hooks. I need, you know, I like the script. When is it okay to ask if they want to do a script with us?
Okay. Sorry, I was doing a couple of things here, so just make sure that I understood this correctly. So essentially, you're at a situation where you're getting some creators in, and they're making their content, but you're looking to have a bit more specific content, right? Whether, for instance, you're looking to
like TikTok,
ideally get them to do, ideally get them to do a certain hook, or at least, or just a certain script, certain video itself. Generally speaking, I think generally you need to, there's no ideal way of going about, no perfect way of going about this, because essentially you're working with free will, depending on whichever way you want to look into this, where essentially if you're giving them retainers, maybe you can be more restrictive in terms of the content. You can tell them a bit more in terms of what you're looking for specifically.
So
but that's not going to be the case of
video.
Yeah, where you're paying them, obviously you can be a lot more dialed in.
You can kind of tell them.
A bit of course. In general, though, when it comes to TikTok, I think it's always, generally speaking, it is better to let people do their own thing in general, because they have certain elements or certain value that they're able to bring through their own persona, through their own content that they make. And stuff that you probably don't even imagine, or some things that you don't think are important, but specifically resonate with their own audience, their own community, and then they can actually deliver that for your product. So I would generally encourage to keep this kind of free reign, let them do their thing. But the way, if you do want to get people to do more specific content, the way I would go about this is going, like I say, having this kind of community set up is a good way of going about it, where you're not telling people you need to be making this content, you need to be making this hook. The way you're framing it is you're putting messages on a daily, bi-daily, whatever basis, saying things like, for instance, this content is what has been working very well. I think a lot of you guys could actually really capitalize on this. I think some creators here are perfect for this kind of video. This person made X amount of dollars, and then maybe show them a screenshot from Kalo data or whatever, showing how much money they made with a specific video to give them obvious visual proof. And then you could give your own recommendation. Say, I would do this video. This hook specifically is working perfectly, or keep it similar. This script is working perfectly, so do pretty much the same, if not the same, or something similar. Do you get what I'm saying here? So in other words,
absolutely,
you're giving them,
yes, that's
you're giving
what I was
them an
thinking.
incentive.
Okay, so community, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So kind of ideas, throwing ideas around for them.
Exactly.
What I meant, instead of not like a written script, but just kind of like, okay, maybe let's go this direction. And when you say you're setting up community, where am I messaging them? Is it like an email, or are you saying like a specific app that I'm communicating these ideas to them through?
I mean, there's a lot of ways of going about this. Depends what you're most comfortable with. You can do this through WhatsApp. You can do this through Discord.
Okay, so like just anyway.
About it.
Oh, okay. Anyway, just
Yeah.
the message. Okay. No problem.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
probably
Yeah.
no worries. I would probably recommend either Discord channel or just set up a WhatsApp business account, and just have a big group of people on there. You know, you're giving your daily ideas. It doesn't need to be too sophisticated, the channel,
Right.
especially when you're starting out. For instance, when you're at the level of, for instance, like Boom Boom, Neurogum, Catacord, you know, these massive brands on TikTok, then it makes a lot more sense to be more dialed in and having things like leaderboards and a bunch of other channels associated with it. But if you're starting out, just something where you're able to speak to the community as a whole and giving them, you know, daily viral ideas or you know, things that you need to get off your chest can go a long way. Just something as simple as that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions? I think I've got time for one more question. If anyone does have any other questions, yeah, happy to take it on now.
I'll ask one more question if no one else has one.
Sure.
And I think it's kind of a good wrap up for this session. So, Jason, you used to work for companies doing all of this marketing, right? Doing the social media marketing and the TikTok marketing. So you know how much of a full-time job this is. So my question is, what would you say about hiring I've interviewed a few companies, one from the UK actually, Market Rocket. I'm interviewing marketing companies to help with this because being a founder, I have so many things that I have to do per day, and there are only so many hours that I can spend doing all the TikTok ads, the Meta ads, all that stuff. So I'm having trouble. It's great to learn all of this and learn all of the language and what's happening, but running this affiliate program myself, I just don't have the time in the day. So I'm a little concerned about that. And I'm meeting with marketing companies. What would you say is the most important thing about bringing on a marketing company to help with this?
I think it's okay. This is a difficult one. Okay. I've seen, okay, I completely understand your concerns regarding time, okay? TikTok to do that, but okay, this is going to vary according to the person who you're reaching out to, the company you're reaching out to, the marketing company, etc. This is a very hard thing to vet, okay? A lot of these marketing companies I see, they actually promise a lot of stuff. They say, yeah, there's no problem to take it to this level. It's not easy, I can tell you. It's not easy. So firstly, in terms of vetting the companies, be cautious, be careful, because I've seen a lot of brands get burned, okay? And TikTok really isn't easy. It's because especially you're working with organic content. It's not like stuff that you're paying in general, and then you can kind of guarantee, kind of in a way, a certain amount of spend a certain amount of eyeballs. You get what I'm saying? Like it can be very up and down TikTok. To get excuse me, sorry, I thought I kind of lose my train of thought there for a second. But in terms of time wise, TikTok can be very time intensive. Okay, so it obviously depends on what you're looking for specifically. Some brands are better than others. It can be a lot of time to vet the right creators, to set up all these bots. Things go wrong on TikTok as well. So like this is one thing that's very underestimated. That's outside of outside of marketing managers, marketing people's limits as well. Because like TikTok, like I mentioned, for instance, earlier on, if you're an early brand, for instance, TikTok throws out some of these things to which looks like no reason, which essentially slows things down. Overall, TikTok, bottom line, TikTok will take up a lot of time, okay? So I would certainly recommend getting someone in to actually do that for you if you don't have the time, if you don't have the experience as well. It can certainly help out quite a lot. In terms of how much money you should be spending for these marketing companies, etc., be careful. I don't want to go out there trashing anyone or trashing any marketing companies. There are good ones out there, but overall, I don't think most companies they can. No, I would say go as far as say companies can't guarantee a certain amount of sales, certain amount of results. Okay, that's one of the things they can certainly. They can certainly lean on past performance and say this is what we've achieved, but that doesn't mean that because it works well with, for instance, a fragrance brand, that they're going to be able to do it just as successfully with your bedsheet products, for instance. So there's no. I don't think this is a clear answer. So I do apologize there, Heather. I think it was Heather who asked the question, by the way. But
Yeah.
But yeah, take into account, I suppose, what I'm trying to say here. If you want, feel free to reach out to me in this particular case if you need any advice or anything with certain. If you're trying to vet out certain, I don't know, marketing agency or something, maybe I can give you a second, third person perspective, whatever. Feel free to reach out as well. But yeah, be careful. Figure out what actually works with you in terms of budgets, etc. as well.
I would like
thank
to
you.
add my experience here to Heather. I am also a startup and very new. I hired a marketing company and they just took a very hefty retainer, $1,800, and my ROAS was 0.3. So very bad ROAS. And then they
Exactly.
immediately ghosted me. The minute I started holding them accountable, what happened, they in the ads, they were saying, oh, you don't pay us a dime until we generate X, Y, and Z. And then when I held them accountable, they immediately ghosted me, stopped replying to my messages. So there are a lot of people who are just running a marketing agency, but they don't really know what exactly is going to work. So it's a lot of trial and error. And the whole Meta TikTok thing is, for the lack of better terms, it is some algorithm magic which is happening in the back end, because there is no guarantee what is going to go viral, which ads will perform, which ads people are going to click on. Even on my Instagram, I revamped all my Instagram and I saw some videos which I had no expectation of them having so many views. I literally posted a video of my warehouse restocking. It was the most boring video ever, and that got most amount of views. So we never know. And for us founders like you and me, $3,000 is a lot of money, which we either have to make a decision whether we want to lead it in Meta ads, give it to a marketing agency as a retainer, or go out there and sell ourselves. So it's sort of, that's a decision we have to.
What I would say, Fatima, I do agree with you with this is what I was trying to bring across to Heather, that you do need to be careful with the marketing agencies that you do reach out to. There are a lot of scammers when it comes to the TikTok industry, unfortunately, not just with the brands itself, just with a lot of just other things in general. So I think that's the case with a lot of industries, to be fair, though. However, generally speaking, I think it's just a general rule of life. If you do actually spend just a low amount of investment in general, prepare to expect lower results. Some of the better brands, I've seen, for instance, brands like, for instance, Creators Corner. I don't know how familiar you are with you guys with. There are another ones that are at this level as well. They get good. A lot of them, they certainly get good results, and because they're vetting the creators a lot more. However, you do need to pay a lot more money. So this isn't a lot of cases. You need to be having a certain budget. So. One of the challenges, obviously, is, if you're early stage, you're just going to have to be smart in terms of how you go about this. The one thing that I will challenge Fatima on, though, is that there is a certain science to TikTok. I would challenge the aspect in terms of it being just guesswork or just random in terms of going viral. I don't think that is the case. From having worked as a creator and as a manager as well, there are things that you can certainly put in your favor. I've got accounts, for instance, as a creator myself, where I've got one particular account, for instance, that literally viral video after viral video is like 20 viral video. Out of 20 videos, it's got like 15 viral videos, 100K plus.
So
So
your
this is what I'm
videos go
getting at.
viral, Vijay?
Yes.
Then why don't you
Yes.
do a video for all of us?
That's well, that's certainly something to think about. But what I'm getting at, Fatima, though, is to bring this seriously, is that from my personal experience, like I say, I've operated it as like looking at it more as a science way. So this is what I mean in terms of the vetting the creators. The best creators, they are able to understand that there is a certain shortcut, I want to say, in terms of going viral, getting better quality content. So like I say, there is a certain science to it. There are ways to minimize risk. TikTok, though, isn't easy. So like I said, there aren't guarantees, but there are certain things that we can do from a brand perspective to put things more in our favor.
See, Jason, one of the videos even you guys have for influencer advantage, in that the ad, you guys actually say that we help you find creators who work on commission-based program only, right? And who work just purely on commission, and you don't pay them until they generate results. So how are we, as all of us are brand owners here, how do we find those people? And where is that list of which you guys have put together as an agency whom we can contact? Because that's a lot of work which is already done for us, because we have already paid you guys, right? So if there is a list and we all are, like me, Heather, Michael, all of us can go and contact these creators, and they're already vetted creators, that saves a lot of time for us. And no party platform piece. Why do we pay? Why should we pay Kalo Data and all of these people too?
There's just firstly, I don't have a list in terms of the better marketing agencies, better people. This is just something that obviously you just need to find the right people yourself. It's the case with just any industry, really. You need to find the right people. My advice for you is to take on board, the information. Like I say, I don't have a dog in this fight in terms of I'm trying here in terms of this presentation, give you tools, give you information that you guys can take on, and to understand more from a creative perspective, from a managerial perspective, all different angles, so that you can make better informed decisions and to pose better questions to, for instance, certain marketing agencies. You can, now that you've got more information on GMV Max, you can start hone in specifically what their strategy is with it, what they're looking to do. Are you looking to do it immediately? We don't have 100, we only have 20 videos. You only want to do GMV Max, you're just going to burn all my money. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like I'm equipping you with all these tools to be able to make better informed decisions in this case. With regards to actually paying all these other tools, it is what it is. You're just going to have to get I hate to say it this way, but you're just going to have to make an investment. It's like TikTok, just as like other industries, other businesses, you need to invest to be able to actually achieve success on this platform. With Meta, you need to pay for ads, right? You're not going to get ads for free. With TikTok, you need to pay. You're not paying for ads, but who's going to make the content? If you don't know how to make content, who's going to do it for you? You need to get creators. How are you going to get creators? You need to go. If you can't, I'm equipping you with all these strategies that you can implement to try to bring in the better performing people. This is why I'm quite big on vet hard, get the whale affiliates, get the top affiliates, because like I say, what I'm trying to do is trying to minimize the amount of guesswork and put the cards more in the brand's hands as possible. Okay, hopefully that answers your question somewhat.
Okay.
Right, guys, I think this has been I do appreciate all the comments here. This has been, from my perspective, a very productive conversation. I hope, I've been able to give you guys information here to take on board, to be useful. I'm trying to give you guys, like I say, a neutral perspective. I know that a lot of companies, for instance, that they say, this is easy. I'll easily make 100K for you guys. They promise you the world, and then some of you guys get burnt. Like, that's very unfortunate. So all this information is I'm giving you is to better equip you guys, to prevent you guys from making, for instance, certain financial decisions like this, to better equip you. Or even if you wanted to go about this yourself, you have the time, then, you know, you can use a lot of this information here to do this for yourself as well. TikTok isn't easy, obviously, but it is, if you can get it right, excuse me, it is a very lucrative platform if we can get it right. Just look at Kalo data itself, or you know, some of these platforms where you're able to see sales data. You can see some people make a lot of money, both brands and creators. So it's not easy. There is a certain strategy to it. There is a certain science, and I hope this has been productive and useful for you guys. If you got any other questions, by the way, following this, you know, following this, feel free to send me a message, by the way. I'm always really quick to respond. I know a few of you guys might have some other questions, you know, like I say, if you need, you know, a certain vetting or whatever of another agent, you know, whatever it is, feel free to send me a message here. Like I said, I'm quick to respond, and yeah. And from my perspective, I've really enjoyed speaking to you guys today.
Thanks, Jason.
No worries. Have a good rest of your day, guys.
Thank you so much. Very helpful.
Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day, guys, and have a good weekend as well. Take care.